All right, folks, so we're going on part 2 of the complete live streaming guide for the chapel that I'm doing here at church. And in this video, we're going to be covering the computer. So let's go. Hey folks, AJ the CEO here. If this is your first time stopping by the channel, thanks for stopping by. And on this channel, we focus on tips, training, strategies, reviews, and builds to help modernize your media ministry. So if you're new here, consider subscribing. And if you like what we're doing here, consider becoming a patron at patreon.com. Link is in the description. So this is part 2 of a series to answer some of the most common questions I get a lot for churches and people who are brand new to live streaming. What we're going to be doing is make sure you check out the first video in this, where we talk about the initial overview of what we're going to be doing at my church at the chapel. Before we built our sanctuary, that was our main sanctuary. Right now, the only thing we have is a brand new sound system that I installed earlier last year. And then I also ran wired internet inside of there to go along with the access point that I put there in the chapel. So that's all we have, and we're going through all the parts that are needed. So we already covered the importance of internet because it's already there, and we're going to be going over the computer. So right now I have my pastor's original computer that I recently upgraded in this video. So this is a perfectly good computer, but I want to show you the importance of the system that handles your live stream. All right, so right now, if we cut over to it, I was getting ready to install OBS, but let's go ahead and look at the specs. Right now, this is an i3 4150 running at 3.5 gigahertz. And it has 4 cores. Now, I always say look for 4 cores in your processor for live streaming, but I want to give you an example of what you're going to expect out of this. So we're going to leave these stats up here so we can see what the performance is. Now, I am using a AJA UTAP capture device. And I can't reach it here. This is what I have connected right now. This is a very popular, but I think now it's kind of expensive, capture card that goes over USB, that plugs into the system. That's what I have right now. So this is just a bare bones basic Dell computer that my pastor originally had that is about 10 years old, I believe. And we're just hooking this up, and we want to see what this system is capable of. So as you can see here, the specs, hopefully my connection is not gonna act up because it was blinking there for a second. All right, so you see what we got. So I just downloaded OBS, and let's go ahead and do the install of that. And I believe this is still running on a mechanical drive. So again, this is just straightforward, not anything super magical and nothing super powerful in this system. And this is kind of like what a typical system most people have been using to try and live stream. And to be quite honest, I don't know. I mean, this may be able to do it. I just don't know. We're going to learn together. So we got it installed. Let's finish it. And I'm going to do some very, very, very basic setup with this. Let's go ahead and save that. Oh, no, I don't want to do the wizard right now. We'll come back to that. All right, so here in the system, let's make this a little bit bigger. I'm looking at this through another screen, so this is kind of small for me to see. All right, so right now it's the default settings. It's picking up the mic, which is coming from our capture card, and my 4K camera is hooked up to it. So let's go set this up real quick. Audio, let's turn off our mic. Let's turn off our desktop audio because we don't want any extra audio except for what we want. And you can see right here, it's spiking a little bit, and we really haven't done anything yet. So let's go ahead and add our capture device. You need a capture device for you to connect any type of camera or anything to your to your computer. A lot of people are just trying to take this and plug it into the HDMI port that's on the back of your computer. That does not work because that is video out. We need to bring video in, and it's rare that you will find any computer that has a built-in capture card. You have to buy those separately. Now, granted, when stuff was more prevalent, I used to sell those, but right now I kind of do that, as per request, because it's just kind of hard to get this stuff now. So we're going to add our capture device, and it detected it, which is cool. And let's go ahead and go to custom, and I want to push this up to 1080p. All right, so I have my camera coming in, but I want you to notice one thing. You see this stuttering that's going on right now? All right, that's not really cool. So let's go ahead and see if we can get this a little smoother. We're gonna go to video, and we want to try and push this to the limit. Let's go to 1080p is what we're gonna stream at, and let's crank it up to 60 frames a second. Let's just see how the system handles this. All right, so it's still acting a little up. Now, this processor actually has an integrated graphics card on it as well. So what we want to do is use the output instead of software. Software is using the processor. We want to use the graphics card to actually handle the encoding. So maybe that can give us a little bit better performance. Still kind of stuttering a little bit, but let's see. And let's look at the specs of the system too. We only got 8 gigs of memory. And actually it is a SSD in here. I think I must have put that one in there. Oh well, I think I did put it in there. But anyway, let's go over here, and I'm gonna set up a stream to Vimeo. And I wanna see what type of performance we get with this. All right, so we're all connected to Vimeo. Let's go ahead and start streaming, and let's see what our specs are like. All right, so as you can see, this is the stream that you're seeing, and even though it's saying everything is good, you see I am kind of jerky on here. So I wouldn't want to watch something like this because it's just, the performance is not great. Now, the one thing, if you look over here in our specs, you see our graphics card is being maxed out right now in what it's doing. So let's go ahead and stop this stream. And then we want to switch back to just the processor and see, do we get any better performance? So let's change this to software. And now let's start streaming again. And as you can see, our processor is up to around 78%. And if we look back over at our stream, it's still giving us the same type of performance because this system is really not up to task. It looks like it is. Internet is fine because we're all green, as you can see. We're using around 75% processor, which is not good because the processor is handling the encoding, the uploading, and running the operating system at the same time. This would not be fun for a long period of use. And I can see that my audio, I didn't set up my audio here. I forgot to do that. Let's scroll down, use custom audio. And we're pulling audio as well too. And now this probably will make it even worse. Just because it's now doing video and audio. You're most likely going to get some out of sync issues when it comes to this. But this is the type of stuff that you see if the system is not powerful enough to handle this. So let's go ahead and stop this. And let's just say maybe this is the limit of what you can use. Let's go ahead and play around with this to see if we can get something better. So first, let's drop this to 720p. And then let's also drop it to 30 frames a second. And now let's start streaming. Now, do we get better performance now? If we look back over here on Vimeo, no, we're getting about the same thing. And now we're still using CPU to do this. Let's see if we stop this and switch it back to the graphics card. Is that an option? Does that give us better performance? So that's output, switch it back to hardware encoding, start streaming again. And as you can see, CPU is doing good because we're nowhere tapping out what that is. Our graphics card is under 60%. So that's not bad, but let's see what it looks like on the stream over here. It's still very stuttery. And honestly, you wouldn't want to drop anything less than this. I am not happy with this type of performance. And what we need to do is see what we can do. This is the limit of what we got in this system based off what it is. So let's stop the stream and let's go ahead and shut this down. Then I'm gonna bring the computer up on here with my overhead, and then let's do some surgery in here and just see what we can do to possibly enhance this system. Alrighty, so, here's the system here. There's my iFixit kit. There we go. Let's see what we can possibly do. Let's see what we could possibly do to improve this. Now, when we were using our graphics card, was maxing out at 100%, which is embedded in the processor, similar to the Ryzen ones, but let's see what we can do. All right, so here's the system. Now, first off, let's go ahead and walk through this. So right now, this is our memory right here. We only have 2 slots available, and we only have 4 gigs of memory. So the first thing is we will want to see if we can add some more memory into this. We have an SSD, so it's already going to be faster. We can't add something like this. This is an NVMe. Technically, I guess we could into one of these NVMe adapters, but that kind of limits what we can do. So what would be my diagnosis of this if we were kind of restricted on this same setup? I would first look up this motherboard and find out the exact type of processor this is to see, can we upgrade this to a faster processor? The other thing is, this is your PCIe 16 slot. We can possibly put in a faster graphics card, maybe like a GTX 1050 or higher, or maybe a RX 560 or higher. And then that would give us more graphic processing power that can handle the live stream. That would be an easy thing. You're looking at maybe $150 to do something like that. Processor, you're looking at least $100 up to $300 for that. Now, to be quite honest, in this type of scenario, if it's looking like spending that amount of money, I would honestly look at trying getting something like this. This is a brand new one for a client. This is, yes, it's about $600, but this would remove even having to use this in any way, shape, or form. This is a great investment because it has the encoding in it, so you're not gonna have that stuttering problem with this, and this is your capture device as well, and you can hook 4 of these. This would be my recommendation, but if that is kind of hard, I would look at, so this is a micro ATX system. What I would honestly think about doing is upgrading this whole system as possible. Get something like this motherboard. This is a Ryzen motherboard here. And inside of this, I'm just eyeballing it to see if this would fit. So this could fit inside of here. This would require brand new memory and a new processor. The 3200G is around $100. This motherboard was $60. So you're at $160 right there compared to $160 for still an older system. You're getting new processor, new GPU because it's built in, and in memory another $50. So for $200, you could actually gut this entire, the inner workings of this. This would drop in and give you the power that you need, because we can keep the hard drive. Everything else would be the same. You might need to get another power supply because you need something to plug in right here, which is actually right here. So that would work. Technically, this could be done. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna see if I can go to my local Best Buy and see, do they have a 3200G and some memory that I can drop in here. And then we're gonna try and upgrade this and then compare the performance to see what we get compared to what y'all just saw. All right, so we're gonna be able to get this today. We get a 3200G with yes, it's still a 4-core, but it's actually faster with a faster graphics card built in to the chip. And we're gonna double the memory to 16 gigs. So this comes to a total of around like $170. And like I said, I already had this motherboard, which is brand new, and this is another around $70. So around $230, we're gonna be able to gut this, and this power supply will work. And we'll be able to gut the motherboard, the processor, and the memory out, keep everything else, and then we're gonna see how this system performs. So let's go to the road and pick this up. All right, so let's see. It said everything was here, so let's go ahead and get that done so we can head back. All right, so we're heading out. We got the processor and we got our memory. So we're gonna be upgrading the system for the church once we get back in front of the computer. So let's head up and get up out of here. All right, so we are back from the store. And to be, in all honesty, what did all this cost? Like I said, this was $177. And then add the motherboard, that was around 70. So we're at 240. So looking at that graphics card by itself, if we had went in that direction, first off, we only have space for one. So you really couldn't add anything new here, even if you wanted to. What else? You would just get a graphics card. So if that didn't solve the issue, you would still be back to square one, and you would have to gut everything as well. Now, some people have asked, well, why don't you go with a laptop, AJ? Okay, again, we spent $240 to upgrade our current system that's 10 to 11 years old to get it up to speed to what we can use, compared to $750 for a decent laptop to get what we need. So that's the reason why. So let's go ahead. We already saw what the performance looks like. And now let's go ahead, gut this stuff, put the new parts in here. Hopefully Windows will accept it and I don't have to reinstall a whole bunch of stuff. But either way, we'll go. Now, even though I do have another hard drive, this NVMe, that I would use that would be significantly faster than this, I'm gonna go ahead and stay with what we got, but I will ultimately move over to this. So let's take this thing apart, shall we? All right, so the transplant is done. Let's go ahead and actually, let's do the main test right now. Do we get an image? All right, so let's plug this up, give it some power, and let's see, does it start up? All right, we got motion, and I am going to switch it over here, and we should hopefully see what's going on in the system. All right, as you can see, the system is started up. Let's go in here because it is a completely different memory, processor, all this other stuff. All right, so that's the Windows startup. It's detecting new hardware. And let me connect this to the internet so that it can pull down what it needs. Hopefully, I don't really have to do much of anything. Most likely it is gonna say, this is a new system, it's not activated. All right, there we go. So, good thing is, as you can see, it acted a whole lot faster than it did originally. And see, it's detecting my drive and all that other fun stuff. So let's come over here. And I installed the NVMe drive. So we should have an extra drive that's not being detected right now. That's the original, which I honestly, yeah, I'll move everything over when we get a chance to. But let's go over here and just look at our system now. So as you can see, we are the Ryzen 3 3200G, double the memory, 16 gigs. And like I said, it's not activated because significant hardware change. So Windows thinks that we just copied something. So not a big deal. I will address that later. All right, so first, let's go ahead and install our drivers. And then we're going to go test out the exact same thing. Let me hook up our capture card here. All right, so we got everything installed here. Just so you can see, system is running. We got everything upgraded and running perfectly fine. I will have to reactivate this, unfortunately. Probably can get around that. I just got to go through and do some other stuff. But let's go ahead and test what we got. So first off, let's see. You see this? You see how much more fluid this is? Again, if we come up here, let's bring up our specs here. All right, so you can see we're at 7%, not really touching anything. Let's come over here and let's see what we're using for our output. Okay, this is software, so we're using the processor for this, but let's see. Let's switch this over to the graphics card, all right? And we're at 30 frames a second. So let's go back here. Let's switch back up to 1080p and at 60 frames a second, the max that we can push out right now. All right, still fluid, still fluid. So let's go ahead and start streaming this. All right, we're streaming. We're at 15%, 21% CPU. Not really pushing anything. You can see the GPU has shot up to around 90-some%, but we're still fluid. Here, let me log in. And I think, oh, I didn't stop this recording. I've been recording on OBS this entire time. Wow. I'm glad I got enough hard drive space for that. So let's go back over here. I want to make sure what we're streaming to. All right, so we are streaming to Vimeo. All right, we got a little bar, but I think that's probably because of the system, but it's a lot more fluid than how it was with the other system. So hopefully y'all get an understanding of just the performance and what you can get and how much better performance you can get based off all in the parts that are in your computer. So yes, that i3 was a 4-core, but it couldn't handle the encoding. So we went here, we spent, again, around $240 to upgrade the system with new memory, new motherboard, new processor, and that's all we changed in comparison. Now, that still was cheaper than buying the A10 Mini Pro, but if you didn't know if you could upgrade this, that's the easier path for you to do. So again, I'm happy with what I'm seeing right now. So we're doing good. We look over here to our system over here. We're not struggling at all. We have no drop frames. It's working great compared to what we were doing before. So hopefully y'all can see, and I got my camera all moved over here, you can see the importance of your computer. The idea is, in all honesty, you cannot throw an underpowered system thinking that you're going to get good performance out of it. Now, for a $240 investment, now this system is primed and ready for us to pair the Sony Handycam that we have at the church. We're using the UTAP to go with this as well too. So we already got our internet taken care of. Now we have our computer that is now capable of running what we're trying to do. So we are one step closer to getting everything done. So I think that's about it. And yeah, I think that's about it for this one. And that's all in the computer. Camera will slightly go over, but again, we're using something that we already have. And to be quite honest, with this capture card or any type of capture card you got, as long as it's going up to 1080p 60, any camera that you decide to plug into it for the most part will work. But we might talk about that if y'all want to. Let me know in the description, is there any other aspect of this you want me to go over outside of what I'm doing? This is a part 2. We have more coming. So if you like this type of content, I appreciate a like, consider subscribing, and hit that bell. That way you get notified when we come out with other videos to help modernize your media ministry. And I'd like to thank the patrons who allowed us to make this video possible. Their names are on the screen right now. And you can become a patron too for as little as $1 a month, where you help us get other hardware and software to help train other media ministries just like yours all over the world. So again, thank you so much. Oh, and also link is in the description, patreon.com/AJ the CEO, for those who are interested in that. Thanks for watching, folks, for part 2 of this series, and we will be back on another series pretty soon. So thanks for watching. This is AJ. We'll see you on the next video. Later.